we are joined by some special guests today, and we are celebrating a new pattern launch. And so we are pleased, very pleased, to welcome the people from Mont Tricot. And my English pronunciation of things is terrible, so anything French is even probably worse. So how do you say your shop name?
Mont Tricot. So like there's no T at the end, but it's pronounced Mont Tricot.
Mont Tricot. Lovely. Yeah. And probably most people know what tricot means.
Yeah.
Do they?
Knitting,
do they?
yes. Mm-hmm.
Knitting. I think most people know that.
Yeah.
Well, so we have Lucinda here, and is it Gilles?
Gilles.
Gilles. Yeah. Sorry, I'm really bad at words. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. And as you can see, a few of us are wearing this lovely cowl that we're going to talk about. And I think, was it a team effort on your part knitting that cowl, or did?
Yes, I cast on the provisional cast on. I blocked it, and I did the Kitchener, and Gilles did the rest.
That's so amazing. I think before we start talking about the cowl, though, why don't you guys tell us a little bit about how you started your shop and how you learned, maybe how you got into knitting? Were you both knitters when you started it?
So basically, I've been a knitter for quite some time. We were just telling you guys earlier that we lived in Vancouver, BC, and Gilles was an ultra marathoner. And so what I found was the best way to travel was to travel with a project, because I had a lot of time sitting around waiting for him because he was not at the front of the pack. So I had a lot of time, and it was an ultra marathoner. So there was often 12 hours, 24 hours, and a lot of times. So I would travel and see the different yarn shops around North America, and have a lot of knitting time on my hands. So that's how I got started with knitting. And when we moved to this area, I had a job, but my position was done away with. And it had always been my dream to have a business. So I said, I know we have a lot of people that come to Sutton for skiing or different cycling in the summer. It would be great to have a yarn shop. So Gilles was like, okay, not knowing really what it was all about, like not knowing all what it entails. And then about a year after opening it, he became part of the team full time. And so we run it just the two of us.
Yeah, it's been 11 years.
11 years, yeah. And Gilles, in December 2019, he started to knit because he saw Steve Rousseau as a designer in Montreal, and he came to the shop and he showed us some of his designs, and that inspired him to want to knit. And so instead of starting with a scarf or like a dish rag or whatever, he's like, I want to start with a Steve Rousseau blanket, and that was his first project.
Brilliant. That's so impressive.
Full disclosure, I like to knit. I find it's very relaxing, but I don't like to complicate my life. So I don't do cast on. If there's a mistake, I pass it on to her. I just do repetition of boring stuff, mindless knitting. That's why I like the app, because it allowed me to do like very fancy stuff that I would have not done otherwise, but it was easy.
I love that.
That makes us so happy to hear.
Yes, it's a great story. And I have to say, it's a little similar. Both of our partners learned to knit after we started Knitrino, and they both learned with Knitrino.
Oh, yeah.
But it's the same. My partner, he'll just be knitting along, and I'll hear my voice periodically. Slip 2 stitches together as if to knit, and I'm like, what? But he'll always hand things off to me as soon as there's a mistake or some tricky bit he doesn't want to learn.
Yeah, that's how I am.
And one thing that's funny is that when I showed it to him, the project, he thought it would be great because he's crazy for slip stitches, because you can do really neat things, but it's not complicated. And I was like, you need to look at the app. And the first time he's like, I don't want to look at the app. Just tell me what to do. And so I'm like closely like handing him my iPad, like it's there. And then like after the first night, he was like, oh, I like this.
But on the other hand, I hate making mistake, or I hate not knowing exactly, where I am. So the app allows you to do that without, too much thinking, and it avoids mistakes. So
Awesome. Well, that's great to hear.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. That means a lot to us. I really love it when people try it regardless. Like I think a lot of people have a barrier that they think they don't want to try an app. And we don't really, we know it's not for everybody, but we just appreciate people trying it. And
Yeah.
we especially love it when they try it and like it. So that was great to hear. So thank you for trying it, and we're glad you liked it.
Yeah, I think trying it is really adopting it. That, I imagine for those kind of projects, after a while, it's as essential as your needles. Like it.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Thank you. We feel that way.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a great idea. Congratulations.
We joke all the time that even if we end up not being successful and having to close down Knitrino, whatever, we're like, it's still worth it because I want this app. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I'm glad we invested all this money, even if it's just for me.
Yeah.
No, that's just a joke. We want other people to like it.
It is. We'll probably edit it out.
Yeah.
I love when I say that we're going to edit something out and we don't, and then I just leave it in. That's fun.
So to create the app, you kind of need the expertise of knitting and the expertise of coding or whatever it is that you need to have to create the app itself.
Yeah, it was really interesting because when we started, I wasn't a knitter, and Andrea was the knitter and the knitwear designer, and she had all the industry knowledge, and I came from more of a product background. So I had worked for an engineering software company, and so the two of us together kind of made a really good team because I was looking at things with really fresh eyes. I didn't have expectations of what Knitrino should be or what a knitting pattern should be because I had never used a knitting pattern. Okay. And so it made a really good team. We would think through how we wanted it to feel for the knitter, and then work out all the details. There's a lot of work.
Combining different skills, huh?
Yeah. Well, I think it's part of what makes us a really good team.
Yeah. What makes us a good team too.
Yay.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, Andrea, what's next? You want to talk about the cowl? Or you want to ask more questions?
Yes, let's talk about the cowl. And let's talk, first of all, about all our mutual adoration of Julie's yarns. So this is in, how do you say it?
Melange.
Melange. And it is a blend of merino and yak. Is it 70-30? Am I remembering that right?
I think so, yeah.
And it is so soft.
It is, yeah. And after it's blocked, it gets even fuzzier.
Yes. And in fact, it starts at the provisional cast on. And I foolishly started it with just another of the colors of the melange, and it felted as I was trying to take it out.
Oh, yeah.
So we do recommend that with these beautiful natural yarns, you might use your provisional cast on with superwash or something with nylon in it. Just so
or cotton. I usually have like just a spare thing of cotton that makes it easy to take out.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's in 3 colors. It takes 4 skeins, but 3 colors. And the design, or do you want to talk more about the yarn, Andrea? I interrupted.
No, other than what Julie does really well in all of her yarns is pick an excellent base, and her colors are fabulous. Like, it's the 2 things you want in yarn, a fabulous base and fabulous palette. And almost any of her colors work well together. Like, I love the colors you guys did yours in. Is Joyful the pink one?
The pink one is Joyful. We used Lupin, which is a new one. And we chose Lavande, so lavender, as the base. And I know we did kits. We did kits when we started it because we were taking pictures of these colors. But now that it's done, we see the melange all in color combos for this. So tomorrow when we're at the shop, we're going to make a whole bunch more because it's really just such fun.
It is.
It really is.
Yeah, and so we will be directing everyone once this pattern has launched. We'll be directing everyone to your shop where they can look at all the palettes that you've put together for this project. So if you haven't if you haven't gotten a kit, that's where you'll go to get it. Yeah.
So Melange is a mix of Merino and yak.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's so soft and it's so warm. Like
Yeah.
it's a double layer of warmth with the way the cowl is made.
Yeah.
Did we say that it was knit in a tube?
No,
I don't
just
think
talk
so.
about it a little, Andrea.
So there's no wrong side. You knit it in a giant tube. Method yet.
Oops.
So you knit this giant tube. There's the provisional cast on, and you knit this too. It seems really long, but once you twist it and fold it, it's like Lucinda said, it's kind of the perfect size
The
around
length is
your
perfect because when they're too long, I knitted another one, a different one, and it was too long, so it opens here. This one like stays close to the neck. It's a perfect length.
That's what I like too.
I took it out for a spin yesterday when I went into Montreal, and it was really just the way the coat hits, and it was just perfect.
Yay.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to try out Melange because it's also a really great sweater yarn.
I want a sweater in it.
Me too.
Is that in Melange?
So this one's a little decadent. It's with Melange and her Anatolia, which is the silk mohair base. So it's
Beautiful.
Could you have handed the silk mohair to?
you could have, but I think you wouldn't have seen it as the design.
Yeah.
I think I would save that more for like a sweater, something that doesn't have such a fun design.
Yeah, so you can enjoy the halo more.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, Andrea, what's next?
Well, we can talk about the design process with this a little bit. I'm not sure if you guys are interested in hearing about it, but this was quite a journey, actually. The designer is Net Hulse. Is that how you say it, Alison? Okay. And she is in Australia, the right one.
I think
And
so. I think she's in Australia.
yeah. And so she had submitted a design to us when we first got started. Before Knitrino was even finished, we had this design concept in our log of patterns. And the one thing that we did not know when we started was just how difficult graded items were going to be. So sweaters and socks are two of the things that are just really, really time consuming for us, because with Knitrino, we only show you your size at a time. So this is just one size. So something like this is a lot, I wouldn't say easier to build, but a lot easier than a pair of socks because we have to build all the extra sizes. And right now we have to do that manually. Someday we hope to.
Yeah, we're working on that. We have some automation in there, but yeah. Do you have the?
I do. So here was what this beautiful design was supposed to be. These cute socks.
That was the original design concept.
But it was just going to take us too much time. Maybe someday these socks will visit Knitrino.
Yeah. Well, and part of it was just that it wasn't something that so things that have a repeated motif that kind of scales with the grading, that's a lot easier to build. But when every size is kind of distinct and different, we just essentially end up building. It's like building 5 different patterns if there are 5 sizes. Mm-hmm. So, and this was that way where every size was different.
The chart was different on every size because of the width of the socks. She had to add extra bits here. So anyway, Net was super, super gracious with us. When we realized how hard it was going to be, we asked her if we could maybe think about turning it into something else that would be only in one size. And we opted for this cowl. And she has been super supportive of the fact that some things are harder than we thought they would be when we started.
Yeah, she's been lovely to work with. We really like Net. And we'll put a link to her Instagram or something on here, but it's I think it's Vintage Nettles, isn't that right? Yeah, her Instagram. And she just does a lot of slip stitch color work like this, and we love it. So we're really thrilled with how the cowl came out.
I think that one thing that is good with this type of cowl where it's changing. So this is, I think, where Knitrino comes in, is where almost every row is different. And I know, although I didn't knit it myself, I know when I'm looking at a chart that every row is different. Sometimes my eyes skip to the wrong line. But in this case, it was at, like it was always easy to see, except for one thing that I love is you can change so that in Knitrino you have your colors that are the same as what you're knitting. And at the beginning, I was not very nice to Gilles because I set it up and I made it like the perfect pale lavender with the darker lavender. And when I did it that way, you couldn't see it. So every once in a while, he's like, I don't know what row.
Yeah.
Which one am I knitting with? So then we ended up changing the background to like more of a white with a hint of lavender. And then that made it easier. And I showed him how we did it. And he was like, oh, wow, I think he had a couple of nights of getting annoyed that finally I was like, oh, we can change that. And he's like, you didn't tell me this 2 days ago.
I think I was just motivated by the confetti.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've experienced the same thing. We put a really light gray filter over the rows that you've knit, so that the row that you're on pops. And sometimes if your colors are too close, it just kind of washes out. So yeah, that's the trick, is just kind of adding contrast to your background colors.
Yeah. Mess around with it a little till they get where you can use them good.
Yeah,
because you can't go too dark either. If you go too dark, you can't see the stitch symbols. Is that one of the problems you guys were having with the purple?
No, it was just the difference between this and when these two were together.
Yeah.
So when he started and you start on this side,
it was
easy. So he was mastering. He was like, oh, this is good. I know what to do. And then all of a sudden he was having a little bit of like, wait a minute, it's not as easy to see.
Because the darker looks like lavender and the pale looks like, because of the contrast.
So that's why we ended up doing it like this, so that you saw it.
Yeah, so it's very dramatic. Yeah. That's
really drama.
Awesome.
Well,
thank you. Do you have any other projects with Julie's yarn next? Because we're ready.
Oh,
yes.
So good.
Yes,
I'm trying to remember. We will. Yeah. Do we have something? Do we have it in the works?
I really do want to do a sweater in her yarn. I think we could do a pretty good like sport weight where.
Yeah. And maybe we should get Gilles' input to see.
Well, I was about to say, if you pursue the idea of having an app for a sock, you might convert me. I never knitted a pair of socks.
Oh, we have socks.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah. We've got socks, and we've got some other things coming that are sock-like that you might enjoy.
Here's one pair of socks we have. They're is it DK weight?
Yes, these are the brioche for brunch socks. And they're really fun because they're DK weight, so they go really fast. And they're also very stretchy. And they're not really brioche, it's like a half brioche rib. So they're not hard at all. They actually make a great first sock, we think. And they're a lot of fun, and they're graded. I think they're graded. Are these graded as large as the Oasis socks were? I can't remember.
I think so. Yeah, I think
it's a really wide range. So
I think what we'll do, okay, and this is probably silly for the podcast, we'll actually we'll download the Knitrino app on his iPad. So he has control. Because I have a special code in case you want to do it.
Yes.
And you'll look at, and so I'll get Gilles to choose.
Try them all.
So we love Julius. And so I think at the beginning, like every time we've helped and done kits for your guys' stuff when it's been with Julie's yarn, like Gilles like, okay, it's for Julie's yarn. I don't really know what it's about, but we'll do a kit. That's fine, no problem. And then this time he kind of realized, who are these people that are doing an app? And so like now he knows all about you guys and everything. So now we'll install the app and I'll give you the code so that if you see one you want to do, then you can self-manage. Because I was like, he's like, but I'm using your iPad. And I was like, this is great. Then I can't be on social media.
Yeah, that is the one drawback. Well, it's kind of a drawback and kind of not. Like when I'm using my phone to knit, I'm not using my phone for anything else. It's almost like it creates this little knitting cave. I can just turn off notifications, and
which is good.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, we really love what you guys do, and we'll look through the patterns and see what other one. But you let us know anything Juliet's line or in, or any of the, any of the yarns we have, or if there's something that would suit. If it's not Juliet, and if it would suit her yarn, we're in. We're
awesome.
We love helping people that are doing fun things and really part of the knitting community. We just need to get more people on, and I really hope that this cowl would be the one to do it.
It's so beautiful.
It's so pretty.
Yeah.
Well, and I would just say the same. We are so grateful for you guys supporting us, because you've been supporting us for a really long time. Most people still have never heard of Knitrino, or if they've heard of it, they haven't tried it. So we appreciate you guys being around for so long with us. And I think, we do share a love of Julie's yarns, which I think is a great place to start. So I just want to know when the best time to visit your shop would be. Like, I do like to ski, but I don't like 0-degree weather.
Yes, I like skiing too. I did.
I like country.
So the Sutton ski resort is actually like a little bit more like wild backcountry type, because it's through trees and stuff. Like it's a little bit more rustic, like not all these kind of groomed. So probably for spring skiing, like maybe March when it's not so bad. In the summer, there's a lot of cycling, so you might like this.
We could go in the summer.
Yeah, and there's wineries, and there's there's a lot of great, like there's a lot of apple orchards. The fall's, with all the leaves changing colors. That's my favorite time, is the fall. But
so pretty much, I've heard we could come in the spring, we could come in the summer, we could come in the fall.
There you go.
See, and if you come in the spring, we'll figure out if you come around maple season, when they do the tap the trees.
Yeah, that'd be fun. All
So
right, well,
when you come, there's lots to do.
we'll have to plan a trip. It'll be fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Well, and I feel like anyone who's watching this podcast is going to also want to plan a trip now that they heard about all the great things to do.
Yeah, we're all going to come en masse.
Good. Sounds good. We're ready.
And there's great microbreweries to park the boys while you go shopping for your yarn.
We're a really small town, and we have 2 microbreweries.
Oh, nice.
And we have a chocolate place and a tea place.
So that's what the ladies do. They come shop and they go park their boyfriend, their husband at the microbrewery, and so they can take their time with it.
But I think the microbreweries go perfectly with knitting. So maybe we can combine them.
Oh yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you, ladies.
My pleasure.
We will let you know when we send this out into the world, and we really appreciate you and all of your encouragement and support, and we can't wait to launch this cowl. So thank you very much.
Congratulations on your good work.
Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
I love them.
They're wonderful.
I just feel very fortunate to have such good people in my circle. Like,
yeah. People who recognize like what we've done, and because the worst is having to convince people. Like I don't want to convince you. If you're not interested, that's fine. Like,
and I mean, we have a lot of people that we really adore, and they don't really use Knitrino, and we're still like, that doesn't mean you can't be our friends, but I really love collaborating with people within the industry who get the value of what we built. And I mean, we say this all the time, it's not for everyone, but we do wish everyone would try it, because you may think it's not for you, just like Gilles. And once you start using it, you can really see why it is so helpful.
Yeah, and it's different for everyone, right? Like we got an email the other day about how somebody just loved, or no, that was an Instagram post, how much she loved, like she's a new knitter and she's taking on all these things like that most new knitters would never take on by themselves. And she's like, it's great because I'm so supported. I click on anything and it shows me how to do it. Yeah, and Gilles was saying that he loves the just the fact that it saves your place, like how easy it is to set it down and come back, or the color matching. So anyway, wonderful. Yes.
I don't know if you saw during the middle of our interview.
I didn't.
I had a dramatic exit, and I'm not wearing real pants. Like I'm wearing sweatpants. They're not like fancy pants. So hopefully you guys didn't see the hole in my sweatpants. But my freaking Blanca was chewing on this. Remember how I had framed all these swatches from early in my, this was a swatch and hair all over it. This was a swatch that I made for Pom Pom Quarterly, and it was the swatch for my, they made it a name I can't say.
Columna or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I saved all my swatches of my things that became patterns and stuff because it made me happy. And she's sitting there chewing on it.
I love that. I love that wrap that you made for Pom Pom. Can we release that in Knitrino?
Yeah, I think that there's some cable stitches.
I want to knit it, but I don't want to knit it without Knitrino.
I think the next step would just be to make a list of the cable stitches that we need for you to create, and then I can build the chart.
Okay. Thank you for joining us for episode 5. Episode 5.
We had an argument this week. I was like, it's episode 4.
Nope.
And Alison,
I wouldn't say it was an argument.
Yeah, but I was pretty certain.
Were you? It's because we kind of got out of our rhythm. So it turns out when you work really long days every day and never take a day off, that it gets really hard to remember things.
Well, and to be fair, my house flooded.
Oh, that's right. It did.
My house flooded one Friday, because we usually try to do them on Fridays, because I don't know, Friday it's like we worked really hard all week, let's do some fun work, and like it's fun sitting and talking to my sister, so and sharing what we've been working on. So yeah, my house flooded one Friday, and then I think you were here one Friday, and we were exhausted.
Too much
we were
work.
Working too hard.
Yeah. So anyway, we love our work. We love working hard. It's impossible for us not to work hard. But yeah, it gets a little hard to keep up the rhythm of the podcast. I'll mention that we're recording this on Sunday, which is, a work day like any other day. Is that okay to say?
Although, I will say a lot of our work is knitting. And so we
do that in the evenings.
Yeah, but sometimes on a Sunday, you'll be like, I'm just going to knit a lot of the day.
Yeah. And it is work knitting, I'll say. It's very rarely pleasure knitting.
I cannot remember the last time. Oh, well, I've got some self-striping socks because sometimes you just have to have something brainless.
Yeah.
And I will say they are brainless with Knitrino because I can remember where I am if I'm on the heel or whatever.
Yeah. Speaking of socks, did we ever hear back from Michelle?
No, we're recording this right now, though.
I know. Well, I just thought it'd be fun. It's a little teaser. We have some socks in the works, some new socks that we're very excited. I'm very excited about, and they're going to be different than some of our other socks and very fun.
Very excited.
So anyway, I'm really excited to cast those on, but we're still waiting to get the yarn, the sample yarn. So, because we want to knit it in the right yarn so anyway, excited about those. What else? We have so much in the works right now. too much.
I mean, I could just do color teasers. How fun are these colors?
Oh.
And I'm even missing a color, but they're still really
you guys.
fun.
Look at
That's
this.
coming.
Yeah. And that's it. This is a mystery knit along. And if you've never done a mystery knit along, let me tell you, this is the one. It's a fun one. And we're going to have kits. So you don't need to worry about putting together colors that work together. You can just buy our kit. It's very exciting, very special. There's a lot of special around it. It's going to be a lot of fun. And that, it's supposed to launch in about a week. Heaven help us.
Oh, and this is launching this week, but by the time we put the podcast out, it's probably gonna be launched. I don't know when you'll get the podcast done.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'll edit. The less I edit, the faster I am. So if we just leave all this in, it'll be live. Which maybe we ought to do. It's kind of fun if we say hello twice. I love that. Yeah, we have some other sock-like things that we'll be launching soon.
I was looking for my yarn. I can't find my yarn.
I have the wrong yarn. Wait, I don't know. Should I show the color? Maybe I shouldn't show the official color.
No, don't show the color.
This is the color we're not launching in. Can I show it?
Yeah.
Oh, you can't even see it. Let's see. Yeah, that color is horrible. It is, it's polka dot sheep. We're very excited, and we won't tell you too much about that, but this is coming, in about a month, maybe a little less than a month. And then our mystery knit along is going to be in about a week. And the Bobbin Cowl that Andrea is wearing is this week. And then we have something special we're trying to work on for Earth Day. Should we not? Don't show it.
No. But we should say, if we haven't already, that a lot of our designs, we publish at least one design a month, which is a lot actually, if you could see how much work goes into them.
And how many jobs we do.
So we have a monthly club that this is our club members got this a few days ago. They got the yarn for this and the pattern for this. They get everything early. They can opt for different choices of what you want. At the basic level, you just get the pattern. You get bi-monthly meetups, knit nights.
Do you have the badge? I love the badge for this one. No.
Not right in front of my face. Yeah, I do. Here it is. It's so cute.
I don't know if you'll be able to see it.
Allison designs all these little badges for our projects, and this one came with a badge that was called
Masterpiece Maker. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. And if you can't tell, that is Starry Night in our colors. It's a like cartoon drawing of Starry Night. It's in a silver frame because we really feel like this cowl, which I am not wearing, is it's a real masterpiece. Like I just kept stopping while I was knitting it and making my boyfriend look at it. I was like, look at this. It's amazing. It and what I love about the cowl is that it is not at all difficult. In fact, one of our club members messaged us to say that she thought it looked beautiful and kind of intimidating. But she was like, but you guys say I can do it, and I can do it. And I'm so excited. Like, and you really can. If you can do a knit stitch, you can make this cowl.
The
tricky bits. Mm-hmm.
The provisional cast on is a little tricky if you've never done it before, but like just everything, and then, click the stitch and see how to do it. And I mean, you will have to dig out a crochet needle, which is always the
also called a crochet hook.
Yeah, I knew when I said it, but I didn't think anyone would notice.
And the one trick to the provisional cast on, which I think maybe we'll demo, although I'm not sure demo. But the one trick I will say is that you really need to pay attention to the direction that you're wrapping the hook around the yarn and how you're pulling the yarn through. It feels backwards to me as a crocheter, and I don't know if that's because I crochet backwards. I'm not really a crocheter, but I used to crochet, and I'm self-taught. Well, a 12-year-old skater kid on YouTube taught me how to crochet. And so I think I probably just crochet the wrong way. And so to do this provisional cast on, if you wrap your hook the wrong way, it ends up not unraveling properly when you come back to it. Because that's the whole thing with the provisional cast on, is you're going to use waste yarn and you're going to put stitches on your needle. And then when you're done with the cowl, you come back to the provisional cast on and you unravel the waste yarn. And if you do it right, you just pull the tail and it all just unravels really beautifully. And if you do it wrong, you have to pick out all those stitches, which is not a big deal. Nothing is ruined, but it's kind of a pain. And so we just tell you right up front, pay attention to the video and do it the way it shows in the video, because that way will work. And it's a little mysterious sometimes why it doesn't work, but it's almost always because you wrapped the hook the yarn way.
Yeah, and you may be plopping along, taking it out real easy, and then you might come to one stitch that you wrapped wrong.
Oh, have you done that?
Oh, every time. There's never been a time where I wrapped everyone the right way.
Really?
But it's not hard to take a few out that are.
Yeah, and I'm kind of the opposite. So she has a few stitches that might be wrong, but I'm binary. So it's either like I either did it all right or all wrong. So yeah. But the nice thing is you're using waste yarn, so you can just cut it. Yeah,
that's what I do.
You don't have to draw yards of it through. Okay, so I just want to show you how to do this provisional cast on. You're going to start by placing a slip knot on your crochet hook. And then I usually just chain a few stitches and try not to split my yarn so that I have a little bit of buffer for strain relief on my cast on. Then you're going to take your needle and lay it over the working yarn and under the hook, like so. And then you move the crochet hook around the needle and under the working yarn. And then you just draw that through the loop on the hook. And that's one stitch you've now cast onto your knitting needle. You're then going to return the working yarn around the needle. And again, move the crochet hook around the needle and under the working yarn and draw it through the loop. And you just repeat this till you have the right number of stitches, always making sure that you're going under the working yarn. And also keeping that stitch loose on your crochet hook makes it a lot easier to do this cast on. So you might just want to loosen up your tension. I've got it a little too tight here. And so, yeah, you're just going to keep going until you get the right number of stitches. And you can slide those down as you get closer to the tip. And then when you do get to the end, you're just going to chain a few more for strain relief. And then place a locking stitch marker in that last loop. And that's where you'll start unraveling from. Then to join the working yarn, I'm just going to use a different circular needle. You can use the same one, but I'm going to use a different one. And you're just going to join the working yarn starting at the end you started with for your cast on, not the end where the locking stitch marker is. And then, sorry, I'm having a hard time staying in frame here. Then you're just going to knit those stitches. There we go. And work your first round as instructed, and then after this row you'll join in the round. And that's pretty much it. And then the other tricky bit about this cowl is that it ends with the Kitchener stitch, which is not it's not tricky. It might seem intimidating the first time you've done it because the setup, you know, you got to get your needles right, and the setup might seem a little intimidating. But
once you get started, though, here's the tip. My tip is don't have any distracting TV show or music on. You need a little bit of concentration, and you just say it to yourself over and over again. That's what I do. I say the pattern over and over again, and I never make a mistake. Now, if I don't say it over and over again, I sometimes will draw it through the wrong way, and it's noticeable, and I hate that.
Yeah, if you draw your stitches through the wrong way, most often you end up with a purl stitch instead of a knit stitch. But I will say this, it helps me a lot. And Andrea and I are very different. Our brains process things very differently. So what helps me a lot is to think of it as 2 steps. A lot of people present the Kitchener stitch as like 4 steps, and 4 is too many for me to remember. So if you just always think of on the front needle, you're gonna slip 1 knitwise, draw through 1 purlwise. On the back needle, you do the opposite. You slip 1 purlwise, draw through 1 knitwise. And so I just think of those 2, and it just becomes this kind of rhythm.
See, I think of it as 2 steps also, but I still have to say it every time.
Yeah. Well, that's okay.
Maybe when I've done 10,000 stitches, I think Malcolm Gladwell says you have to do it 10,000 times.
Well, I think that's a Japanese thing, right? There's a Japanese principle that you become a master when you do something 10,000 times. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I think that's right.
That's probably true.
And so I, you know, at this point, I probably am a Kitchener stitch master. I feel like just on this cowl. So we changed. The grafting for this was a little tricky and where to put it to avoid a big gap between the motifs. And so I Kitchenered mine together and took it out, I don't know, 4 times, I think. And by the end, the yarn was like really felty and worn. But anyway, we got it. We nailed it down. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think if you've never Kitchenered, you will really enjoy it. I hope. And if you don't, let us know. I mean, I want to know why you don't enjoy it and how we can help you enjoy it more, because I find it so calming. Like, I feel like if I just would sit and do Kitchener stitch before bed, I would just fall asleep like that. So
I want to say something.
Yeah.
I hope it's okay. You can edit it if it needs it, but
Okay.
I want to say that you are a true badass knitter.
What?
Like, I don't know too many people. I mean, you can be a badass knitter and like just be able to knit a lot of things, but you are so committed to, like, if it needs ripped out 4 times to get the Kitchener stitch right, you will do it. And like right now, everyone, she has this hat in progress that we have to change the brim on, and she just freaking cut that thing apart and is doing surgery on it. And I'm just amazed at.
And here's the funny thing, since you bring it up, I wish I had it here. I would show, and maybe I'll show an image of it. Here's the funniest part of that. So I forgot, right, that when I was Kitchenering it, Kitchenering, that should be a word. Is it a word? It's now a word. Kitchenering, to graft together using the Kitchener stitch. What I forgot, I was thinking, oh, well, we were going to add a row of knit stitches before the motif.
I can already figure out what you forgot.
So what I forgot is that when you're Kitchenering together, you're actually working on 2 rows at a time, right? There is 1 row of knit stitches, but so I got a little bit of the way through and I realized, oh, hang on, that's not the right motif in the row above. So what I'm having to do is I do knit stitches on the front needle, how you draw the needle, your tapestry needle through determines the type of stitch you get. Well, on the back needle, I need a different stitch, right? I need the pattern, which is like purl, 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 knit, knit, purl, purl, purl. So I'm having to change the back needle stitches. But here was the thing that threw me off. I somehow dropped a stitch. So my motif is shifted, so I have to pull it all. I'm only like a third of the way through, so I'm just going to pull it out and start again. Yeah, but at this point, I should have probably just reknit the whole hat. But
speaking of, yeah, that's what I said. I was like, if we need to do this, I'm just going to reknit it. Because it's a hat and it's pretty quick. Speaking of drop stitches, where that? I dropped one. Oh, there it is. Look, somehow I dropped a stitch in the middle of the mosaic.
And you didn't notice?
No, well, what probably happened is my stitch count was off and I couldn't find it because this one was really hiding. Like the yarn is pretty clingy, and
but your motif looks fine. How did your motif not get off?
Yeah, I think when I noticed that I was off a stitch, I probably just did a make one to add the stitch where it needed to be. Which was stupid because I should have realized that couldn't be right if it was working up until a certain point. But it happened on these rows that were just like.
Can I just say, it's not stupid. It's actually a great solution because you wouldn't have been able to ladder it back up if it was like a foot, below where you were. And so please, no self-degradation here. I think that was an excellent solution. And now you can just go back and stitch.
No, but I think if I had thought about it a little bit more, I would have realized there must be a drop stitch and I would have looked for it a little harder. I mean, it is 3 or 4 rows down, which makes it harder to find sometimes. Yeah. But it'll be easy to fix. I'm just gonna grab it and do some duplicate stitch up, seal it in.
Yep. And I will say, I also, when I was grafting, so when you return to the provisional cast on, you're going to unravel the cast on and then put all those stitches onto a needle. And it doesn't, I'll add that it doesn't really matter too much what size that needle is because it's just holding the stitches while you graft it. But I dropped a stitch as I was unraveling. And it took me forever. I kept counting my stitches. I'm like, why don't I have 90 stitches? And I looked and looked and looked, and I finally found it. So yeah, if your stitch count is off, there's probably a sneaky stitch that got away. So. All right. Well, we hope that you will check out this cowl and enjoy
really,
it.
It's the most beautiful thing.
It is. And it was just like Gilles said. Am I saying his name right? I think I am. Gilles. Yeah, but I think it's French. Gilles. Yeah, I don't know. But it's like he said, that it's just the perfect size. If you're really looking for a warm cowl, because it just sits nicely on your neck. Like, yeah. And you can work that. You have the twist.
I may not have gotten gauge. Mine might be a little bigger than.
Yeah, I think mine fits a little tighter than that, but I don't know. I left all mine at your house, so.
I think yours might actually be bigger, and I think that might be why our yarn yardages were a little off. Usually I use more yardage than you, but on this I think you used more yardage than me.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Mosaic. You've said that before, that mosaic is funny for you.
Well, it used to be just like my color work. So I used to overcompensate because I didn't want my work to be tight. And as I've improved in my knitting skills, I typically am right on gauge. So I'm not sure, but.
Well, thanks to everyone who joined us for our 5th podcast. A special thanks to Lucinda and Gilles from Mont.
Almost, yeah.
The funny thing is, I mean, I know that Canadian French is different than French, but I did study French and I am terrible at saying words.
Well, and the other thing that's worth pointing out, and maybe this is part of it, is that you have lived in a number of different countries and picked up a lot of the language in those countries. And, so I find that, so I took German in school, and often, like when I was learning Japanese, I would often want to fill in a German word, which is so funny.
It's normal. I mean, that's where like kind of Spanglish comes from, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
I
mean,
don't know.
when I learned Turkey and Italian around the same time, and I do that.
You still said
Turkey all the time.
Yeah.
What would that be called?
What?
If you blend Turkish and Italian together?
Turktalian?
Turktalian.
I like that.
Probably not that many people speak it.
Yeah, you would find the 4 or 5 other people.
More than that. I bet there's a lot of Turkish German fusion.
So since we're talking about language, can I share my little anecdote, or is it too tangential?
I love this story, and I've heard it at least 5 times.
Okay. It is fun. So I was really just a hobbyist in trying to learn Japanese. I was working for a company, and I had a global team. So I had people in Shanghai, in Taipei, and also in Tokyo. And and I should say in England, but I'm almost fluent in English. So I was trying to just pick up a little bit of language, of the, those languages, because I traveled there quite often. And especially, I think in Japan, you're much more likely to come into contact with people who don't speak any English than in China or Taiwan, at least in my experience. And so I had this little app I was using to learn some phrases, and it's really just a little bit childlike phrases. And I had gotten up to 189 words. The app tracked how many words I knew, and I was pretty pleased with myself. Anyway, they had taken me out to dinner one evening. The Japanese are so good at celebrating their guests. I just love the formality around that. It's really lovely. And we had gone to this wonderful restaurant, eaten a fabulous meal. And for dessert, they brought in this bowl of strawberries. And I was so excited because I knew the word for strawberry. And so I pointed as the bowl comes in, I went, Ichigo! And everyone applauded. It was so much like when a 2-year-old does something amusing, how everyone's like, oh, you're so smart. But I was so proud of myself to actually have the recall for the word at the appropriate moment.
Yeah, no, I know. That's the thing. Like a lot of times you do know a word, but you blank in the moment.
Yeah, because it's just you trying to. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that.
It still amuses me to this day, and I have a feeling that when I go back, because I will go back and visit my former work colleagues, that they will remember the Ichigo story, and also the karaoke. We had some amazing karaoke, and there is a video out there of me singing The Rose with one of my Japanese colleagues.
I like that.
And it was
now, if you can find that video and splice it into our podcast, we might like explode.
Probably, but I don't know. We'll see. All right.
Well, thanks to everyone who made it this far through our podcast. We really hope the strawberry story was worth your time, because I think that was a nice little topping to the end of our episode.
Thank you.
And we do like to ask a question.
We do. What's our question?
To find out who really watched to the end. What is your best badass knitting story? Like, what's the toughest thing you tackled? And it doesn't have to be the fact that you cut your cabled hat in half like Alison did.
Yeah, it can be small. It could be a small thing, but the thing that you're proud of, like, what is your badassery? Tell us your badassery in knitting. You can also be a badass in other things, but we're mostly interested in the knitting.
Yeah. Or if you know the word for strawberry in Japanese.
Yeah, you could share that too.
All right. Well, that's it.
That's it. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.